All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are going to absolutely shatter this thin, taxidermied myth that's been built around one of literature's most misunderstood geniuses. Yeah, you probably recognize the image on the left, right? The pale, reclusive spinster. But here's the thing. A mountain of evidence, I'm talking letters, her herbarium, everything, it points to a reality that's way more complex, way more powerful. She wasn't hiding, she was strategizing.
So let's get into it. We've all heard the story, haven't we? The so-called Nun of Amherst, this lonely figure in a white dress, just scribbling morbid poems and hiding from everybody. But that story, it's a total caricature. It's flat, it's boring, and it's wrong.
And that's because her isolation, it wasn't born from fear, not at all. It was a deliberate strategy. Think of it like a fortress, and she built it for some very real, very practical reasons. She didn't retreat from the world, she curated it.
Okay, so what were these reasons? Well, for one, she had this intense sense of duty to care for her mother, who was chronically ill. On top of that, her own eyesight was failing, which made just going outside physically painful. And this is a big one, she had this deep, gut-level rejection of the super intense religious revivals that were sweeping the nation at the time. So this was a conscious choice, a voluntary isolation, to protect her time and her fiercely independent mind from all that noise.
But from inside that fortress, she was engaging deeply with the world. I mean, a lot of people don't know this, but she was a masterful gardener. She had this herbarium with over 400 plants, and she labeled every single one with its proper Latin name. Her flowers and her poems, they became her diplomats, right? She sent them out as these little messages of comfort and celebration, but only to the people she chose to connect with.
In this engagement, it wasn't just personal. The Civil War, it caused a seismic shift in her inner world. You have to understand, she felt the tremors of what was happening to the country so profoundly that she actually broke her own ironclad rule against publishing. She submitted 3 poems to a journal that was raising money for wounded soldiers. Think about that. A true recluse doesn't do that. A deeply engaged citizen does.
So, all this inner intensity just exploded onto the page. It created a poetic style that was, and I'm not exaggerating here, nothing short of a revolution. She didn't just write poetry, no. She took the English language, took it apart piece by piece, and rebuilt it to fit her own unique vision. Here's how she did it. She'd start with a rhythm you know, something familiar, kind of like a church hymn, right? It feels stable, predictable. But just when you're getting comfortable, bam, she hits you with a slant rhyme. It's a near miss. It is exactly like a lullaby sung with one note intentionally off-key. It just leaves you feeling beautifully unsettled, and it forces you to pay attention.
But her most powerful weapon, her absolute signature move, it was the dash. And trust me, it is so much more than just a piece of punctuation. The best way to think about it is like, it's the 19th century version of leaving a message on red.
Because that silent, empty space left by the dash, it contains everything. It can be a gasp for air, a moment of hesitation. It can be a surge of overwhelming sorrow. It's a visual tool that represents that precise moment where language just fails and pure feeling takes over. Okay, so let's really dive into this now. Where did all this revolutionary, language-breaking energy even come from? Well, it came from a life of deep, secret, and absolutely explosive passion.
And this is what completely destroys that myth of the timid, passionless spinster. In a series of unsent letters, drafts really, to some mysterious figure she called Master, she reveals this consuming, almost violent love. I mean, this was not quiet longing. This was a full-blown inferno on the page.
Now, the Master? That's still a mystery. But the central figure in her emotional and literary universe? That was her sister-in-law, Susan Gilbert. Dickinson sent her a staggering 276 poems. That's more than she sent to anyone else, by far. Susan wasn't just a friend. She was the sun that Dickinson's entire world orbited around.
You have to remember, this was an era that just could not comprehend their bond. So Dickinson developed this brilliant and honestly heartbreaking strategy. Scholars now believe she used what they call beard pronouns, writing he when she really meant she. It was a secret code, a way to protect the true subject of her most passionate work.
And all of this brings us to the final act. After she died in 1886, her sister Lavinia was sorting through her room, and, she finds this locked chest. And inside,
An absolute treasure trove. Nearly 1,800 poems, all meticulously hand-sewn into these small booklets she called fascicles. But here's the crazy part. Her true voice was almost lost to us forever. The first editors, they were horrified. They fixed her grammar, they smoothed out those beautifully unsettling slant rhymes, and they replaced her powerful dashes with boring old commas and periods. I mean, they basically vandalized her art. It took almost 70 years, until 1955, for a scholar to finally publish the poems exactly as she wrote them, with all that radical genius left intact.
So this is the crucial point, right? This meticulous, strategic artist who curated every single aspect of her life apparently left the fate of her life's work, her entire legacy, completely to chance. Or did she? Think about it. She left no note asking to publish them, but just as importantly, she left no note asking to burn them either.
Maybe she just knew. Maybe she knew her time couldn't possibly understand her. And maybe her silence was her final, most brilliant act of all. A time capsule carefully packed and just left there for a future that could finally decode her revolution. An audience that, by understanding this true story, now includes you.